Do it again, Jake. Jake, come out here and show them what you got here. Dude, exactly. Nailed it. I'm Rich.
I'm Frank.
And it's People, Pints, and Possibilities.
Yeah.
Well, without further ado, welcome to People, Pints, and Possibilities. We're just hanging out with our good friends. We got Brett Butterfield and Mark Perry. I'm the Vibe Titan, Rich Clayton.
Frank Pinion, Dabbler.
And we got our two guys here. Everybody needs a nickname around here. What do you got?
I think they call me the king.
The King.
The king, yeah.
So I wore the wrong hat today.
Yeah.
There it is. What do you got, Mark?
He calls me Paris. I guess he's only called me that since 8th grade, so I guess it's stuck.
Okay. The King. Are you actually the king? I had a note down here. Are you the king of smoothies?
Oh.
Have you heard that one? Somebody said you were the king of smoothies or slushies. So.
I would just tell you, in all the years of fairs and ice cream stores and stuff, I've made a lot of them.
I believe it. I believe it. Well, welcome to California Coast Beer Company. We're here in beautiful Paso Roblans, California. We make beer here, and these guys do a lot of cool things. So we're gonna talk to some more community members. We hang out with the Brushes a little bit. They kind of set the stage last time, so we heard you guys are gonna up them. No problem.
Oh God, there's nothing to that. Damn Brushes, man. They just get you in trouble. That's
easy.
all. They just get you in trouble.
That's right.
That's true. And then, the nicest one of the whole bunch was the oldest sister, Colleen. We were all classmates together. And Kevin didn't tell you that since he was a little brother, we used to just slap him around all the time like he was a nuisance. And they other than the country club that had a pool, I think the Brushes were the only other family that we knew that had a pool. He had a reservoir because he lived in the country, but we'd always be up at the Brushes swimming. So
Up on the hill.
oh yeah, they had a pool. So
You went to the Playboy Grotto.
exactly,
I
100%.
saw it.
We had the best 7th and 8th grade parties ever. And Kirby and Martha, Kevin and Colleen's parents, they were in there sipping on their toddies, and we were in there dancing slow dances to the Shy Lights and Tom Jones and
Donnie Osmond.
Dottie Osmond. Oh yeah,
Dude, I wish I had a time machine.
oh yeah, no, that was the place on the hill, and we'd stumble up a pathway and get there and put on the 45s and think we were Casanovas.
Oh man, that sounds like that's a good intro.
I'll just throw this out there. Growing up in Paso was really fun. I mean, we're still close with a lot of those old families. My parents were friends with their families. Grandparents were friends. But I mean, just looking at Mark and myself, but the Brushes. I mean, it was just such a great community growing up, and it's funny. I love it to this day just as much. It's different, but I hear people say, "Well, I don't go downtown, can't park." Man, I'm just the opposite. I think it's a blast downtown now, and I loved it as a little kid.
Absolutely, and we're glad to be a part of it. And that's a great intro. These guys, not only do they know Paso, they know it from the beginning. They were Roblans of the Year, but they started in elementary school together. Bearcat grads together, Rotary members, community guys through and through. Mark, funniest person in the room that we heard. Main Street Association, Old Timers Barbecue. You wrote some more notes. Pioneer Day committees. Sat on multiple boards. Involved in his church. Brett, from multiple businesses to being diversified in what he does, helping everyone else. He's also employs hundreds of people here in the town. And so we got a couple of guys who are going to give us a little rundown on Paso, and not just Paso, but how to be successful in your community and make it better. Our purpose here is to bring people together and leave them better, and you two are a testament to that. So thank you for coming in.
Cheers.
Oh yeah, no, it's an honor to be here. I mean, now that we're here, we finally made it. So
After all that list,
we don't have real high expectations, so this is it. So
there you go. And you made it before Chris Montero.
Ooh. That could get ugly fast.
Yeah, we're all gonna talk real nice about Chris.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's get into Paso. Tell us about Paso. People are first, and a lot of people here. Like you said, the community. I'm sure you guys have a lot of great stories, and you started all the way back in elementary school.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, my family moved here in second grade. I was in second grade, and I remember driving out North River Road, and my parents bought a ranch. My grandfather bought 90 acres on 46 and Golden Hill. There was nothing there except for a little restaurant called the Embers. You guys ever remember that? It was called the Embers.
No.
It was where the 76 truck stop is now, there.
Wow.
And little dinky, old school cafe, the Embers. And my grandfather bought 90 acres straight across the street, of which is now all Lowe's and everything out there. And it went back. So as a little kid, we were out there. I'd ride on a tractor with my dad. He grew hay there, and then got a little older. We moved sprinkler pipe there.
There's still a city water well out there, and on it is Butterfield 8. And that was for his family. It's still, if you go past the turnoff for Malahi Dodge, you go about another 50 yards, and on the left-hand side, there's a little dirt road, and that's where a city water well is, and that it was his grandfather's.
No
It's
kidding.
still on there?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah, so my
Jake,
dad,
we got to get a pic.
we drilled that when we moved here, and that was how we grew alfalfa. And then the city took that over in time. But, kind of coming up through the times here, we left. I was born in Pasadena, and we lived in Upland, and we farmed in Chino. And it was my grandfather, I think, came up here first and saw this area. And they said, it's time to get out of Southern California and come up, slow it all down. And one memory to me was on one of our very first drives out in North River Road. And I don't know how many hay people we have, but I remember my dad going, look at that thing. What's that? And it was the first ever harrow bed where they pick up the bales automatically.
Yeah.
In our day, it was an old flatbed truck with a conveyor.
Yep.
And we looked over, and Pala Equipment, the Palas, who were friends, they had a New Holland harrow bed out in the field. And my dad was going to get into farming, and they ended up testing those on our ranch. I was in second grade when those came out.
And the Pala Equipment building is where David Cudia has the place across the street from Taps. That was Pala Equipment.
Oh, that
was
big
all
building.
farm
That big
equipment
building.
there.
That was all farm equipment. And then across the street was H.A. Wood Welding Shop where Taps is. And so then later on they put a little parking lot and they sold GMC vehicles. There were just a few. So, but that was Pala Equipment. So
Wow.
Brady Pala, then Johnny Pala. So.
And that area right now is begging for something to happen to it. That big building. I'm sure he has an idea.
There's our home base for our new idea. Right? That's
There you
home
go.
base for our kids' camp, right?
Yep, we're gonna work on that. Yeah, we love innovation, and Brett is full of innovation. That's for damn sure.
He's
So,
a true entrepreneur.
yeah.
So
He's about as
Possibilities.
diversified as you can get. He takes water, runs it down a slide, and then captures it and puts it in his tanks.
so we're golfing one time at Chalk Mountain. He goes, I got an idea. We're terrible golf. Well, he's better than me, but golf is a sport that you can drink beer in, kind of like fishing. It's a good sport. And so he goes, Coke machines, but without Coke machines, beer in it. And you just put
Yes.
your driver's license in it, and you get a beer right on the course. So you don't. And I go, okay, that's.
He also so Brett's got an idea. He came here and he
We
said,
trademark that or
Brett's got an idea.
don't give
He
all the
said-
secrets
God,
away.
that seems ancient.
He said, what we need to do is make a beer keg out of our tanks, and you serve some beer out of the keg, and it's going to look just like a keg, and you're just going to have a person in there slinging it during your party.
Oh, yeah. He's all.
I
idea.
still want to build that, but I want it to be a copy of your cans, and I'm thinking either 12 foot tall or 16, and it looks
Yep.
just like a big beer can.
Also, the railroad, he wants to do a railroad car over Railroad Street. Where you get in the cars. That's just, we don't want to give away all the trade secrets. But Brett's got an idea. How long has he had an idea? Since you were kids? Was
Since
he
sixth
always
grade, everything had something. His mom told me we worked together where Los Robles Cafe was, and his mom used to be there and help out, and so I'd work with her. I was working for Texaco offshore, so I'd plenty of time to kill, so I'd work with her. She goes, one time, Bucky and I were coming home, and coming down a road was Brett in this go-kart or something out of control. And he goes, I think Floyd, his brother, was behind it, but it looked terrible.
I didn't understand gear ratios then. So I hooked a motor up direct drive to the wheel on the go-kart.
Just let's go.
And I was hanging onto a rope behind a motorcycle to get it bump started. And when it finally took off at an idle, I was doing 45 mile an hour on tires about that big with no way to shut it off. And so,
Oh, yeah. And here comes mom and dad.
they flew right by me.
Brett Earnhardt over here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we were on North River Road. You might not see a car out there all dang day. You know, right? And
now
look
you're
at it
dodging them on every second, right?
Yeah.
Now they're everywhere. So you came in elementary school, but you boys didn't hook up until middle school, right?
Basically, sixth grade, we started really hanging on together. And I was the good one of the bunch. I was in eighth grade. I was the eighth grade class president. And
A studious. I can
studious
see it.
one. And then...
And when the teacher turned her back, I could see you.
So Brett was great for naming all of our teachers, giving them nicknames. So our core teacher was Carol Smeltzer, longtime pioneer. I mean, here longer than anybody. She's a pioneer. The Smeltzers. It's a
Swimmers, good swimmers.
and she was a root.
Okay.
She was a root, and so it just goes back till not as far as the Brush family, but way back. So Smeltzer was her last name. So Brett called her Elka Smeltzer, and then we had a new
Not
teacher.
to be confused with Alka-Seltzer.
Exactly.
I think I was so proud of that name back then.
And then we had
Worked on that for a
then
long
we
time.
had a
It took me a
Brent-
minute.
Yeah,
I got it
exactly.
though. I'm
I
the
saw
silver
Frank-
here.
I
I can
saw Frank
tell.
clicking.
Yeah.
Tom Epkarian, who's married to Susie Rowe now, and we were his first. He ended up being a superintendent of Pleasant Valley, just an educator. His first year was our eighth grade year, science teacher. He comes in. He was a farmer from Reedley or over there in the valley. He goes, "My name's Tom Epkarian. I don't want to be called Appleseed, Applesauce, Johnny Appleseed." On this, so Brett raises his hand.
Idea.
Yes, he goes, Mr. Applesauce. By the way, so that was the start of a beautiful relationship. So
I will not call Mr.
no, he
100
no.
times.
What he would do is he would have him go outside the door and hold the pole, and so Brett was outside holding the pole a lot.
Holding the pole.
Yeah. So that was the beginning of our eighth grade year because we had a core teacher and then we'd go to other classes and
How many in your class?
what.
I think that was normal, like 25.
25?
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
25.
No, it's 38 now.
yeah.
Pushing
Maybe
40.
yeah. So and then in the old days you had to pass the Constitution to get to high school. Then you had to pass the Constitution to get out of high school. I don't know how he did it in high school, but he copied me in eighth grade. I can guarantee you that.
As
I can
in,
guarantee
you
it.
had to recite the Constitution, or
No,
what did you have to
they
do?
gave you a written test, you know,
On the
of article,
Constitution.
yeah, the constitutions, and you know the three branches and all the time. Well,
Well, shit, that's disappeared.
So
I think.
Brett didn't make it past 8th
Poor
grade.
Brett.
Is what
no,
I'm hearing.
I was the smart one. He copied me, but somehow I don't know how he did it because I think I got like a 96 and he got like a 99. So they must have given credit for his name, like the SAT or something.
What was the cheating system? Did you go like upper left was A, upper right was B? How did you do it? Did you just give him the nod, or
I wasn't involved.
Oh, but you were.
he did the angle?
You were.
I can see it now, Mark.
We had so many systems, I don't remember which one I used on that one, you know?
Oh shoot, go back, run it again, run it again.
Well, he knows how to do it. Ask about econ sometime. We won't bring that.
Oh yeah, no,
we
let's
won't
go.
bring that one
Let's
up.
talk about high school. So we get to high
This
school.
was college. This was Cal Poly.
all right.
And this, no, you know, they may
How
still.
about, how about the Bearcats? Once a Bearcat, always a Bearcat.
Always a Bearcat.
So
yeah.
what was Paso Robles High School like back in the day?
Well, we
Set the stage. What was the year?
we got there as freshmen. Yeah, and he was a legacy. His sister and brother had already been through.
Oh, yeah.
Did Lyra Butt graduate from Paso? Okay, so he was kind of a legacy, and so
I was.
well, nobody picked on him too much. So, but I had the Stemper bunch. They were my cousins, and that was Paul Stemper was one of Kevin Brush's best friends.
Now, that was
Paul
all
and Kevin caused some trouble.
yeah.
Oh,
And so, but our group was, but he was a motorcycle rider. So he got tired of working out in the fields for his dad. So he went to work for Joe Brown, working on motorcycles. And he was a motorcycle guy and FFA guy. And I was the studious athletic type. And so,
I like the shimmy.
yeah. And so that's the way it worked. But we were friends. The friends we had in fourth grade were the friends we had when we graduated from high school. I mean, we were just, the town was small.
Right.
And then the older sisters and brothers had younger sisters and brothers. And so thank God for his younger sister, Martha, because she saved us a lot of times. Because after being studious and athletic, I became wild like him. And so, but we had a good time. It was just a good time because Kevin was talking about cruising from Polar Freeze to Walter's Polar Freeze to Foster Freeze, but he forgot. We talked a little bit about A&W, where 21st and Spring, across from Smart and Final, where the car wash is now, the new car wash, across from Savage Liquor. And they were car hops, and they were all cheerleaders and song leaders from Paso, Tascadero, not Tascadero so much, but Templeton, Shandon. And like Brett was saying, the Colwells owned it, and they had two daughters. Corinne was more our age, and Lisa was younger. And like Corinne was like the cat's meow, so we were always trying there to impress her, but no go for any of us. Not to impress. But we'd always stop there, and then we would take our friends there visiting from town, or when we were in college, take them. Brett has a great story about that one.
Oh boy.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, let's hear this.
Yeah, let's go. Sell it.
I like when it starts with, oh boy.
Yeah, I just have a buddy who's still a buddy. He was my roommate. I met him in Cal Poly, and he's from Bakersfield, and he was a funny guy. He'd talk to anybody. I mean, still to this day, he'll walk up to anybody. How you doing? I'm Tom. Just that's how he was. And
don't know anything about that.
Yeah. No, this guy's a legend. But anyway, so I said, I got to show you this place, A&W. And okay. And, they come over, and of course, they were all hot working there, and she brings our food, and we're eating. And
we know all of them. I mean, so.
So finally it's time for the bill, She comes over and sets the bill down, and I think he was driving. I'm sitting on this side. I'm, we're going, oh God, don't blow it here, Kendall, whatever it is. Anyway, I think our bill was probably, $7, and he hands her a 10. Here you go, baby. Buy yourself a training bra. And I'm sitting over there looking straight forward. And I told that story at his wedding. I was in his wedding and watched his grandparents just cringing that their wonderful grandson had said that. And we drove out of there proud as a peacock. And,
Just had been working on that line for a week.
I just remember a couple funny stories from high school. One of them was we had a guy, Danny Jewell.
Oh, jeez.
And he was a white guy with a big old
kind of afro.
Yeah.
Nice.
And he was a straight up stoner before I even knew what a stoner was.
Nice.
I mean, like, whatever, dude. Anyway, he was Spicoli.
Yeah, Spicoli.
Yeah, exactly.
Pizza.
So
he ordered pizzas to class.
I'm in wood shop, and Mr. Brim was our
Brim.
wood shop teacher. He had a big old broom mustache, big old thing, Mr. Brim, and he was kind of a cash guy. And one day we're in there, and they were always on us to wear face shields, and nobody ever did. And we're running wood, and somebody's not doing something. Everybody, that's it. Shut everything down. Over to the classroom. Everybody right now, over to the classroom. So we all come walking over, and of course, Danny Jewell's there, sitting there, So Brim's going, that does it. I've had enough. I have told you any tool in here, any tool at all, you need to have a face shield on. And he's just lecturing us. Right in the middle of his lecture, total Spicoli. Danny Jewell gets up, walks over very slow, takes his pencil, put in the pencil sharpener, puts a shield on, pulls it.
True story. True story.
Any tool you're on, and he was on the pencil sharpener. That does it. You're out of here. And off he went to the principal.
Yeah.
With a big grin. Got him.
Love it.
How about the cruise? Kevin told us about the cruise. You boys... The cruise was something to see.
Yeah, it was. Not usually the weeknights as much. Maybe starting on Thursday through Saturday night, everybody would cruise. That was just the thing. You'd see everybody, especially in the summer nights were cool because we'd find a parking lot and just pull over and just talk and and meet up, and so didn't matter who you were. It was just it was crazy. I mean, if you weren't cruising, then you weren't in town. That's basically it. That was the fun part. Summer was the greatest. So, other than we had to work a little bit, but very little. So,
the cool thing, test this out. So, I try to tell people, even the people that are our team members that are working here, we couldn't text each other. So we had to use code words, right? And you guys were ahead of us just a little bit, but we were in early 90s in high school, but you had to have a code word. So give me some of the code words of where you would meet at to drink beer, have a good time, hang out. What were the code words?
Well,
I can tell you one. I heard. I didn't know it. Beer Can Hill was. Where is Bearcat Hill?
Found
Because
one.
I've heard the name. I
It's
just
behind
don't
Georgia.
know.
It was behind Georgia Brown.
Yeah.
But now there's houses up there, so there's no more Beer Can Hill.
So if we had a reunion, we'd be in someone's backyard.
Basically. And then you could go up Peachy Canyon. There was another hill up Peachy Canyon as you go up Pacific Avenue. And then as you made the turn out of Pacific Avenue, there was a road, and there's houses up there now.
Yeah.
And you go up and see the skyline, and there'd be several cars up there with people having a good time.
Yeah. So if you were hanging out, you'd just say Peachy Canyon, and everyone knew where you were
Well,
going.
G Street was a biggie. That's just halfway up Union Road, right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah.
people,
G.
you know, G Street was a. They stole the sign out of Fresno from where all the hookers hung out in Fresno. G Street and put it at the top of the hill. So that became
hookers
G
in
Street
Fresno?
over
Hold
there.
on, there are not hookers in Fresno. Fresno's a
No,
nice place.
no, yeah, it's
Peach.
There's a little side we pull off on.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
hey,
awesome.
there you go.
Jake says
There you-
Peachy
there-
Canyon's still
Yeah, yeah,
alive.
yeah,
you
yeah,
boys
there you-
started it,
Now, yeah,
and
well-
it's still
Well,
going.
that little pullout you're talking about, we have a good buddy, Chris Hino.
Oh.
He had this
Oh.
big old wild hairdo, so we called him Wirehead. But
yeah, that's right.
he had a little baby blue VW, and
Jeez.
we were up in that little pullout trying our best lines on the girls that were with us up there. And, okay, time to get out of here. And I'm sure he had a beer or 12. And we're coming back on like a Tuesday night in his VW, coming into town. And I don't know what he was thinking. And we just launch off the side. And I remember the guy in the front, David Lopez,
Oh, yeah.
goes, we're going over. And I'm in the back seat in this Beetle. We all put our hands up.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
my
we finally
goodness.
stop up against this tree. You all right? You all right? I think so, yeah. And Volkswagen's laying there with the roof all. Now it was here, you know.
Oh, my goodness. Well, you know, Volkswagens are known for their strut stability, right? They're-
Tin
well,
can.
we walk up to the top and go, holy moly. And it's like, now what? And finally, here comes a set of headlights. And it's this little old guy, about 60, in a little Chevy Love truck. And he's smoking dope. You can smell it. And you guys want to ride? Sure. We jump in the back. We just rolled. Now this guy's going about 100 and we're riding in the back with no seat. Where do you want off? Here's fine.
We'll walk.
We
We're
were
good.
scared to death after rolling that car, then riding with him. It was a
that was scarier than the roll.
right. That
with
was
him.
right up there with.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
the thing is, this Chris Hinote, he lived with me, my family, from the summer of the 8th grade year to a year after he graduated. Then he goes to college and moves in with him. And so it just went from bad to worse.
So that's down in Slow.
That's
You live in Slow? as
Oh,
well?
no. I was responsible, and I actually went to work. And so that's a whole nother podcast,
So-
to San Luis.
We graduate Bearcats, and where
yeah.
are we off to?
Well, I after I graduated, me and two buddies, I got back then. The only thing to do was go to Disneyland. That was your senior trip. You didn't go to
Yep.
Mexico. You didn't go.
Right.
Went to Disneyland. I got back that on a whatever it was. Me and two buddies got in a modified truck that we fixed up and traveled around the United States for about 3 months.
Wow.
So we ended up
That's pretty
everywhere.
badass.
Yeah, we ended up in Philadelphia. It was bicentennial, 76. So we got back to Philadelphia for the 76, and we went up to New York, Baltimore, clear up to Montreal, Boston, Baltimore. Then we all the way back down to Key West, and then we made our way back home. So that's what I did my senior year. He was probably racing motorcycles and working at Brown's. Then I went to Cuesta and played baseball.
What did a trip like that? What did you learn from that? I mean, you saw some crazy cool things.
You know
Well,
what?
back up a little bit again. Wasn't that in like a
Yeah, what?
Datsun pickup
A
or something? Like
a Datsun pickup.
Three of them in the front.
3 of them?
That's
Yeah,
front.
thank you. I was going to ask.
But we had made a bed and back that you could open up, put all your luggage in it. And so usually I sat on, we had a boot where I could look out. And so I was usually sleeping most of the day. So, but being an 18-year-old kid back in 76, the legal drinking age outside of California was 18 or 19. So, we got to Bourbon Street, it was 18, and that was a new thing for a bunch of country kids. We got to Philadelphia, and the one guy, Mike Dirks is his name, and he had been at San Diego State, so he was in a fraternity. So, and once you're a fraternity brother, all you do is just secret handshake, and you can stay at any of the fraternity
I've
houses.
been trying to get Martha. She was in a sorority, but I haven't figured it out.
So we stayed like, Memphis State, Florida State, Miami, all these places that had major universities we could stay. Other than that,
Nice.
we'd sneak into a KOA and take a shower, then leave before they got there, or truck stops. And so Yeah. So
You know, kids nowadays watch movies about being free like that.
I know.
And you lived it.
well, and gas was,
lived it.
gas was about $1.50 a gallon. So and so it wasn't that expensive. So, but one of the things is we get back to we're in Orlando, Florida, to KOA, and we see this truck go by and it has a California license plate holder on it, California. Hey, let's go see him. And then we walk up. We were dressed up for us. We had like corduroys on or OP shorts. We stuff back in there. And so we walk up and they're kind of looking at us, looking for their gun, I think. And so I go, hey, we're from California too. And they were, this is Orlando. I go, what part of California from? They go, Antioch, California. Heard of it? I go, yeah, we're from Paso. I go, I got family lives in Antioch. And he goes, oh, yeah, who's that? I go, you ever heard of Perry's Glass? Dan and Joan, they're our best friends. We go out to dinner with them all the time, every week.
Wow.
I go, yeah, I'm their nephew. So they cooked us dinner. We're eating SpaghettiOs and, crap like that. And they made a big old steak barbecue. So we're, had stomach aches for a week because we were eating. So
That's the Portuguese connection, man. They run thick as thieves, those Portuguese people.
well, you were
gotta
talking
watch
about
them.
that with the
Yeah.
brushes.
It's my wife, by the way.
Piss mill. Well, my dad was one of 17.
Oh, yeah.
And when my grandfather came over from the Azores, he met my grandmother in northern. He came through San Francisco, went to Oakland, married my grandmother. Then they moved to Rio Grande. That's where all my aunts and uncles were born. And so changed the name from Pereira to Perry. So have all my uncles and aunts' birth certificate, not baptismal certificates, is still under Pereira. His marriage certificate was still under Pereira. So he started dairy farming down there. And then my mom was born on a ranch in San Miguel, West San Miguel. Then my mom's family moved to the big town of Creston, and my dad's family moved from Arroyo Grande to the big town of Shandon. So then I was born here in Paso. So
Well, I'm going to tell you, when I met Martha, the only any group of people that throw big ass parties and expect you to do nothing but eat and drink with them, I'm down with.
they do that.
Right?
They do that.
So, Brett, you went to college. You went to get a big brain. Look at the big brain on Brett.
Yeah, go figure.
You're Mustang. You're
I went
Mustang,
to Cal
right?
Poly in
Yeah.
ag because I grew up on a ranch and never worked in ag another day in my life after college. So, but I went to 1 year and I just wasn't ready for college yet. So I moved back up here. I was working and I was racing every week in LA and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed those years and working at Brown's and
Hold on. Go back to the racing because I saw Frank's eyes light up there. What were you racing?
Yes.
Well, I started racing flat track. That's what I really liked, dirt track.
He was
So-
tracker.
And he was good.
Hold on.
He won
the
a lot.
videos that I see where the motorcycle damn near slides out from under you.
Well, that's speedway, yeah.
okay. What were you doing?
Well, regular motorcycles for
Oh,
us.
no
you
shit.
know, yeah. But a lot of motocross. We were in the desert. We were riding constantly. My parents had a ranch, and I told you we kind of grew up in the river, and so
Yeah.
when my friends came out all summer, a lot of people stayed at our house. We had to move sprinkler pipe in the morning. If anybody was buying hay, we had to load their trucks. But then my dad would let us. He would pay for the gas and let us use tractors, and we made tracks and we rode dirt bikes. We rode motorcycles, and that's really been my love. That made me end up not doing any high school sports because I was heading to the races every
And he was good. He was good.
That's what
He won a lot.
Yeah.
But
Winning
also-
helps. Winning
But,
solves a lot
but
of things.
he's beat up a lot too.
Oh, I believe it. Well, in this place, Paso is known for turning out some pretty legitimate dirt bike riders, right?
At the time I was racing, we had a minimum of 40 of us heading to the valley every weekend. All the parents went, and I worked at Brown, so I was working on half the race bikes. It was super fun. I loved every bit of it. It was really
One of
really,
our
really
guys,
fun.
we should have him here. We should have had him here, Chris Hinote. Tell him the motorcycle story about Chris when he crashed over in Tulare. He made the news. He made the newspaper.
He stood up and his pants dropped. You mean
Yeah,
that
that's the one.
Yeah.
Out of the gate, or what happened?
No, he
He
just
just crashed and ripped him. You know, when he
Well,
stood up.
we think he had a slight concussion. Oh. Because he pulled his pants up. He knew they were down. Then he starts walking. They fall back down around his ankles. He pulled it back. He was just wobbly.
Anytime you had high speed and packed dirt and crashes together.
I got a cousin too. We got to tell the story about the hurricane.
Oh, boy.
My cousin. so my cousin Harvey, he
He was probably the slowest person I ever saw on a motorcycle.
He was the slowest and there was 2 guys he always beat.
No, wait, hold on. Back up a little bit
Okay.
again. He got him into racing. The first thing he did was put a Hustler centerfold on
the back of his helmet.
So that just gives you a little.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Mind you, there's children. There's the 50
Hustler,
club.
just every there's just a hustler, not a playboy, not a hustler.
He
So-
went aggressive. He
Oh,
was
yeah.
aggressive.
So
I
I go just I was the pit crew. I just went to watch, right?
Right.
So I'm sitting next to Harvey. He's up there. You're all sweating. It's the valley weather is just beautiful this time of year, and he's sitting there, and I go, "Hey, Harv," I go, "This is pretty bad." He goes, "Mark." He goes, "The 2 guys I usually beat didn't show up this week."
That was his favorite line.
That was his favorite line.
I swear. If you were here last week,
Hurricane's a good guy though.
Funny.
So
man.
you're at Cal Poly. You get through Cal Poly Mustangs, but you were racing the most of the time. And then
I was ready for change. I'd grown up in Paso and farm, and the day I graduated Poly, the day, 2 buddies of mine who I had met working at Cork and Bottle, and I worked nights in Cal Poly, we loaded up a horse trailer, my dad's, and we moved to Newport Beach.
Nice.
And I was just ready for a change.
Yeah.
And we moved down there, and it was a wonderful time. I had so much to learn, and we get down there, and first day we're kind of down at the beach cruising around in Wranglers, and back then everybody was just coming in to Sperry topsiders and Bermuda shorts and polo shirts,
that's Frank's business attire, by the way.
yeah,
You and Frank
hot
have the
right now.
same, yeah.
But I ended up taking a job. There was a brand new TGI Fridays opening, and one of my favorite memories of my life. They were still privately owned then, and extensive, gnarly, good training. You had to know everything, every food item on the menu, every ounce, glass, garnish, price. I mean, I just love it to this day because they really taught me the business well. And I ended up working for them quite a while, and then I got hired by the Rusty Pelican in Newport Beach, and I managed that for many years. But those changed me a lot. That took me into some new businesses and a new world. And then, going back to Perry's story, a buddy and I, oh God, I will tell you this story.
I'm next.
We met out in Vegas. I met a friend of mine out in Vegas, and we just sat down. I had a $20 bill, and we sat down in the Tropicana at a blackjack table at about midnight. Oh, let's give it a whirl. That was the first time I realized gambling is all about luck. I could not frickin' lose, no matter how stupid I was, and we got drunker and drunker. I'm handing him enough money to stay there and still gamble with me. It's 4 a.m. to find, and my whole rule was every time I wanted, it had to go in my pocket when I ran out. So I started on a 20. Don't know how much I gave him, and now my pockets are like this, and the dealers have rotated about 5 times. You're still freaking here. It's 4 o'clock. I'm drunker than 10 Indians. Pockets like this, and mind you, I only would bet $2 hands. I had no guts. Right. So finally, let's get out of here. Let's go. I finally went and cashed in, and I won $1,600 off that 20.
That's more money than I won in my whole life. So
Yeah.
far.
That's about the same.
Wow.
So we come out of there, and oh God, and we went in to have breakfast in a restaurant, and it was only breakfast only. All right, give me 2 goddamn steak and eggs, and hold those goddamn eggs. We just wanted to eat, and 2 double Bloody Marys. That's what it was. Well, my buddy who now works at the Ravine with me, he and I drank iced tea all the time. Well, I look over, it's 8 a.m. These families are just looking at us like we're pathetic. We're drunk in a family. And he's just putting sweet and low in his Bloody Mary. Hey, dumb shit, I did an iced tea. Oh, yeah, dude. Oh, yeah. So we come out, walk down the street. We haven't gone 100 foot. Here's this just hot chick opening up a travel agency. Mind you, we haven't slept all night. We're walking down the street. I got my cashed in my money. I got this. How you doing, baby? You got any specials? And she goes, oh, how about a Fort Lauderdale cruise for $7.49 each? I'll take 2. I didn't have that damn money for 2 hours to my total name, and I bought he and I a Carnival cruise. And shit, about a week later, we're flying out there. So
I now
That's
know why
perfect.
those people are hanging out there.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
for
yeah.
you, yeah.
But, we did a Carnival cruise and went to Nassau, went to the Bahamas, and it fully changed me. I saw a lifestyle I loved, and that's the Jimmy Buffett, the layback music, fun, relax, chill, ocean. It really changed me. And I moved back here and moved back to Paso. I was ready to slow it down, get out of Orange County. I opened up the Caribbean Cafe. I everything, the Creaky Tiki in San Luis, the water. You look at all of them; they are all still from that. From that, I spent 2 years out there running restaurants, and we were down in Key West a lot. We were in the Keys a lot, all over out there. We'd go out to the islands, and that lifestyle, that trip changed me. And if you look at the water park now, what's my theme? Palm fronds, thatch,
absolutely.
relax, chill,
Easy going.
reggae music.
Relax.
Yep.
Yeah, you know it, you live it, right?
Absolutely.
So I was thankful that hottie opened the doors
Absolutely.
that
Hey,
morning.
You guys have a couple things in common.
Hold
So
on,
good
Brett,
looking
you went
ladies.
from fifth geared pinned on dirt bikes to Jimmy Buffett, and I'm gonna.
You crashed that motorcycle and
Well, back
never
to
looked
college.
back.
Back to college.
Go.
This is my favorite story of all time. It's just my favorite one. This Chris Heinot, our buddy that lost his pants at the races. He was his college roommate, and he's a great guy to this day. He's one of our best friends, and they were out having some adult beverages one night, all night. And so the next day, they lived on a street called Meineke. It's over by Sierra Vista. And you could jump over the fence, and there was a Sizzler there, right? And so they weren't feeling real good. So Chris, our buddy, he ordered
Oh, this is the next morning.
the next morning after the fun. And Chris ordered the best steak they had, which was probably $4.95, with Sizzler steaks.
Oh yeah.
And so
And we never had the money then.
Oh yeah, no, these
this
guys,
was a big deal.
This was a big deal.
Oh,
yeah. So they must have got their student loans or something. But so Chris has to go to the bathroom. So his best friend here undoes the salt shaker lid, the old salt shaker lid. So and our buddy, he has a famous thing when he got frustrated. He goes. So he comes back, and they're sitting there, and he goes to pour the salt on it, and all over his steak. And he's just looking at it. He looks over at Brett, and he can't stop laughing. I wasn't there. I wasn't there. So he's just, and he did the, and he wanted to hit him so bad. He just
you
got
wanted
his
to punch
knife.
me.
He's just scraping the salt off it. Well, that's not the end of the story. So he worked at Pro Document Solutions. After he graduated from a business degree, he worked at this plant out here that did a lot of things. My wife worked for him, but he recently retired. But he was a salesman. And he went to Boise, and so he's up at Boise taking a customer out for dinner, and nice steak place. So he orders nice steak, and he goes to do the salt thing, and it was loose. So he called the guy over. Hey, he goes, was a guy named Brett Butterfield here
before me.
I'm sorry, sir. I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, just checking. I mean, this was like 2 years ago.
Scarred him for life.
It's scarred for life. That's a true story.
Oh, I love it. Well, people are important. We hit the people portion. We're about to move to the Pints, but who was it? We always want to talk about this because there's consistent themes with successful people. No matter what you're doing, somebody helped you along the way. Somebody mentored you. Somebody impacted you when you were young that kind of catapulted you or showed you the way. And did you have any mentors in your life?
Well, my dad was just Portuguese guy, so he worked hard all his life. And my mom, she was a waitress, server. She worked at the one cafe that Kevin was talking about. She worked at Smith's Drive-In. She was just a waitress, but she made a decent living. We were lower middle class, but we never went without. Everybody knew everybody. So my dad was a truck driver. He was a cowboy. He actually was a bull rider, and so he was a real cowboy. And so, but just later on in life, we had a lot of influences from because his dad and a lot of these people that are around here that, like we were talking about, the Jimmy Clausens that owned the Mercantile, and Manfred Vanderlip's Vince Vanderlip dad, and these people, Buck Butterfield, Swift Jewell. These guys were the icons of this area. They were a big deal, and they knew you. And like when Kevin talking about Dale Heiner telling you, "Hey, we'll follow you to the police station." We knew the same people that all these people knew. Yeah. Kirby and Martha Brush. We were always hanging around there, eating their food. But later on in life, I worked for Texaco Oil Company for almost 18 years, and I've worked at the Paso Roblans Waste as a safety guy out there, safety compliance, government stuff, for going on 30 years.
We can come back to that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we'll
We
talk
will.
about
We're getting there. We're getting there.
But the two people that influenced me the most, or been influences on me, is Dale Gomer, the owner that hired me for the waste,
Yep.
and this knucklehead.
And what did they teach you? What did you learn from them?
When he had the Caribbean, I was working offshore. I was working.
You know what the Caribbean is?
No, I don't
where
know.
the
that
Los
one.
Robles Cafe is.
The Mexican place up here.
Oh, no kidding.
that
he
was
had a
my
restaurant.
first tiki place.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean,
Wow.
we
Right there, Frankie, on the
Yeah,
corner.
I know. Right?
Yeah.
Right across from Third.
Right across from
Yeah.
the
It was
beach.
all thatch roof, bird aviaries.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I mean, it rocked. I mean, it rocked. I mean, it was always busy. And he, so on my 7 days off, I'd go work for him because my wife was working and my kids were in school. And so, but I hated working offshore. I was working offshore then for Texaco. And every time
Yeah, so he was working
still for
2
Texaco.
weeks, 100% away from home.
Yeah, and it's
Then come home and get,
and I was hating it. Finally, he goes to me, he goes, because he knew I hated it. I'd get a migraine. He goes, quit. He goes, I can't quit. He goes, come work for me. I go, doing what? He goes, I don't know. He just, he's fearless,
Yeah.
drive tractor
Yeah.
for me, do this. We'll find something. I ended up going to work for Dale, but he gave me the courage to quit because every time I was offshore, one of my kids would have a t-ball game or a school play, and it's just they're 36 and 34 now, but they weren't then,
Yep.
and so he goes,
a
hey,
lot.
he's fearless.
You can do it.
Yeah, you could
If
do
you
it. He
heard
just-
that episode, we had a funeral for I Can't Do It. You know,
and so him and Dale, and then Dale hired me, and he's treated my family and me well, better than I could ever imagine. So
Yeah.
What'd you do for Dale?
I'm the safety guy. I work for it's Paso Roblans Waste, but it's not garbage anymore. I mean, that's an aspect of it, garbage, but I deal with Department of Transportation, drug and alcohol testing, county environmental health. The city of Paso Robles. There's a lot of different agencies and different rules that you have to do. I just had I have about 5 binders of different compliances that's not even OSHA compliances. These are just state and federal other than OSHA. Then the OSHA standard, lockout, tagout, violence in the workplace, sexual harassment, discrimination, all that stuff. So it falls into my, teachings. And so,
yeah. You know what? There's nothing more powerful than people who believe in you, right?
well, when's that start?
I'm still wondering who the mentor is who taught him how to go.
He told you to quit.
yeah.
He
I'm
must
wondering
have
who the
believed in you.
mentor is that taught him how to go to Joe's place from 7 to 10 every day and still pull off a living. I want to meet that guy.
Nice
Well,
going.
hey, somebody has to be the people guy. in the
Exactly.
businesses.
Exactly.
Jeez,
Thanks, Rich.
Right there, you go.
Jeez.
All right, mentor. Who inspired you?
Well, let's go back to safety director here.
Oh, yeah.
So
We're not skipping.
I like it.
Perry called up. Yeah, I'm the safety director now. Okay, good. And about a freaking day later, I see him. He's diced all the way across his
That's a fact.
eyeball right here. Like, I'm kind of like, geez, what'd you run into? And well, safety director stretched the heck out of a bungee cord
And
on
slapped
a
him.
On a
pulled
bin,
the roll off.
trying to. It was a bin, and it was on one to keep the lids down because it was full, and the hook gave away, and came and caught me right on my eye. So, I mean, I think I had about 6 or 7 stitches. I mean, it got me good.
Oh, his nickname was safety director immediately.
Yeah. And I go to open the first aid kit, freaking moth flies out of it. There ain't nothing in it. So I go to the doctor, and I got blood running down me, and so.
That one's yours too. There you go. Hand those over. Hold on. There you go. You took safety to a whole nother level.
A whole nother level.
Cheers, salute.
Oh yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming. We're just getting warmed up. This group of this. Hey, you are as advertised and even better. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, we're going back to, I forgot the one, there was where the olive place is next to the old chamber where the olive place is. I can't remember what name. That was the Steinhauer Bakery. My mom worked there too. And their boys, Booger and Snook, they were classmates of ours too.
What were their names?
Booger and Snook.
Okay.
There was an old German.
In case they come in.
And this was a real bakery. This isn't like Dolly's Donuts. They had like eclairs, cream puffs, bear claws, wedding cakes, donuts, cookies, beer rocks. They had everything. I mean, so it was, and like I said, like Kevin said, across the street was Roscoe's and Moto Day, J.C. Penney. Down from Heaton's was Sears. That's where Harry Ovitt worked. Then Ready Western, and then the Goodyear Player, Estrada's Bar. Then where Via Creek was, or it used to be Via Creek, that was
Spencer.
the original rodeo bar.
Rodeo.
But before that, it was Ferdy's, and that was owned by Norma Moy's family. So that was the bar next down to Boozy's, and then and then where Odyssey was, that was General Auto Parts, and then you go where the other place, the art place down there by the theaters, that was Pioneer Auto Parts, and those were the auto parts store in town.
Wow.
Holy.
But you just knew everybody.
You knew everyone.
The cops knew you. I could get away from them every time on my dirt bike. They'd drive out to the house and leave the freaking ticket with my dad. And then I didn't come up for air for a month. He had me out there moving a hay bale pile from there to there.
You didn't get away. You got away for about the ride home. That was it.
No, it sucked. And then my mom was on the school board forever. Ditch school. LMA, is your son around? No, don't know where he is.
But I'll find him.
It was a small town.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Any mentors for you, and who inspired you? What anything skills you learned, things that took you far?
I've worked on
people.
this really hard with my kids, and I will just say this: in my family, my mom and dad made fun out of work. Right? We grew up on a ranch. Every night we'd get in their car and do a little drive around the ranch. We worked really hard. All the kids who came and stayed out there, they had to work. Then we played. However, I never ever minded it. We'd go out in the dark, move sprinkler pipe before the school bus came in the morning. I was soaking wet from that alfalfa. Go home, change, ride the bus. But I never minded it. I never did. And so I have 311 employees this year.
Wow.
Part of my talk is always do what you love, and it's not work. Look at you guys, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, for
do
sure.
what you love. And when you wear out on it, as you will at some point in time, then it's a good time to move on. Or if you get lucky enough, good management, of which I'm in the middle of a lot of that right now. But I always loved what I did. I loved my jobs. As I look back down there in Newport, I was growing, so those jobs led me to other things. But that's why I was telling. That was why it was easy for me to tell that to Mark.
And it's amazing. You just touched on something Frank and I have talked about. I worked at Kingsburg High School as my first job, 2003. I'm a football coach. I love the people there. I love the environment. I loved everything about it. But I knew after 3 years, I wanted something bigger. And it was no offense to Kingsburg. They were so surprised. They said, no one leaves here. They don't leave here. This is the best job. It pays well. It does everything. And it almost pains you, right, when you have to leave a job that you love, but you, in your heart, you have to move on. Yeah. It's always been better on the other side because you get that next step for growth, Promotion. But it is hard, and your mind does that thing that we always do. Right at the last second, you say, why am I leaving this? This was the greatest job I ever had. And you try to talk yourself into staying. And in reality, that new challenge is what you need. You know? And
that's like that offshore job. Texaco, they compensated me very well for my time. I mean, I made a gobs of money and worked 6 months a year, and they allowed me to have 2 children. Basically, my health benefits were I had kids for free. I mean, I didn't pay anything because they had such a good health benefits. And I'm thinking, but pros and cons. What's more of a priority? So I thought I was going to retire from Texaco. And then but it didn't.
But here's how I saw that. He had been trying to get on with the boys' school and stuff. Had failed blood pressure test time after
Montero wouldn't
time.
hire you, huh?
Health, stress, right? And I remember what I did. I remember you told me the same thing. I worked 6 months. Okay. Straight up, he was gone 2 weeks straight. That's 24 hours a day. You're not with your kids and stuff, right? So, so there's 50% of their life. Okay, now they sleep 8 hours a night. Okay, but knock that off. Now they go to school 7. When we played it backwards, it didn't sound so perfect. Because even when you're here working every day, you still get dinner. You still get breakfast.
Sure. Right.
He was 50% of their lives gone before he even got into the home life, right? And I remember saying that to you, very well.
yeah, no.
And I believe this. The heart knows the answer
Well,
before the brain can come to it.
I think you might be right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Kids loved it. I'm not sure about the wife.
Hey, she's still putting up with you.
Yeah, she's still there.
And moving on reminds me of us down at the grad. You think the ones you got pretty good.
Yeah.
Hey, check that one out over there. And sometimes you got to make a move.
There's plenty of failure. Plenty of failure. Opportunities to get better. Well, we're moving from that first phase. We believe there's 3 phases, just like Pints Possibilities. That first phase, is trying to find yourself in life. And now you boys are moving into the second phase where you kind of have a good idea where you're going and what you're doing. And now you're trying to prove to yourself, prove to the world that you can do it. Now you have a direction and you just start kicking ass. So how the hell do we end up with a water park?
In short, I probably the smartest business I ever did was, I won't even tell you how I got there. It was just a fluke and different things. But I opened up an RV storage business. Best business I've ever owned. I mean, no employees, no nothing. One person, they just pay you monthly. You know what I mean? And it was great. But one guy in there said, what this area really needs, now mind you, Paso had 40 wineries when I did this. He said, what this area really needs is an RV park. And there wasn't one. And I started thinking about that. Didn't have the nerve to do it on my own. Had never really done anything big on my own. So my 2 partners for the last 35 years, Jay and John and I went to kindergarten together. We still to this day dice over who our kindergarten teacher, Miss McGee, wanted more, me or him. But anyway, he just went back to L.A. for like a 30-year class reunion, and Miss McGee was there, and he says, whatever happened to Brett Butterfield? But anyway,
Point in case.
But I would just
How
tell
old
you-
is Miss McGee right
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
now? Doesn't matter.
Win's a win.
She's still 23 in their head.
Yeah, exactly.
But I thought about that. I got those 2 guys, so we were scared to death. We bought where our Paso RV ranch is, north of Paso. We bought 6 commercial acres on 101 with a big home and a small, kind of not in good shape grandmother's home and 2 barns, zoned commercial, for $260,000, and we were scared to death.
And that was
off.
a lot of money.
We were
What was
taking
a
that-
house at that price? You could buy a house for
Oh,
less
yeah.
than
I mean,
that,
I bought
right?
my little house about that time for $110,000 right behind Joe's place.
Oh, is that the one with the key under the mat?
Yeah. But not to make a long, boring story boring, my first business, going back to lifestyle, the beach, all that, everybody coming through your front doors is there because they're still out living.
Yep.
They're not at home watching the Fox News. They're still out living. They're outdoors. They're camping outside. They're barbecuing outside. They're at the pool. They're there to see your area. And that was a real eye-opener to me. I'd been in restaurants. I'd been in farm. And whatever, all the stuff I'd done. That was a real eye-opener to me. And we did everything there ourselves. We mowed the lawns. We cleaned the bathrooms. Us 3 guys.
Wow.
We did everything ourselves.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
No job is above or below anyone around here.
Nope.
But there wasn't a day out there somebody didn't said, would you like to have a sandwich? You want a glass of wine? I mean, it was such an eye-opener to me of there's businesses out there that are a true joy. And now as I look at that now, my buddies who are dentists, nobody wants to be in their place. You own an auto body shop, nobody wants to be in their place, right? I mean, so, and a guy came in one day and says, I want to buy this place. And I mean, it made money from the day we opened it. And we had a lot of fun out there. We had a lot of,
I can't imagine.
yeah, I mean, it was such a breath of fresh air. I had all Jerry Lee Lewis's band come in there one night. I ended up out in the motorhome all night. Those guys were playing music to me.
Wow.
It was such a fun business. And I'm possibly working on another one now out there across from the water park. But this guy just said, name your prize, name your prize, name your prize. Well, and I'll tell you straight up, we had borrowed, our total debt was $620,000. So I think we borrowed $280 to buy the property and $300 to build it, right? Yeah. And John and Jay weren't even there. And I said, I don't want to sell it. No, everybody's got a price. Blah, blah, blah. So we owed $680. I said, I thought I was kind of being smart. All right, I'll sell it to you for $1,680,000. Done, sold, buy. And I'm like, oh, geez.
I meant $2,680,000.
Are we in? But mind you, these are numbers were diff. I thought that was the biggest number in the world.
That is a big number, though.
Well, except for
I can't wait to be you someday. 'Cause when we started this, I thought
That's a big
$10,000 was a big number. Now 50 is a big number.
if I could
so
tell you anything, it was the worst thing I ever did because first thing we did was pay off the loan, $680 million left. Okay, 3 of us. Okay, here, $333 each. Freaking government took 50% of that.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Now I'm down to 150, 160, and no career.
And no recurring income.
No
right?
recurring
Yeah.
income, and I just had something I loved.
Yeah.
It was making you know what I mean? So I really learned there. Now, we bought the Paso truck stop, which we turned and did well with. We bought the water park property. And when we sold that, I knew I wanted to do something for kids, but I knew I wanted to stay in the same business. Tourism, recreation, fun, people coming through the door. 'Cause
Everybody's
they want to
happy.
be there.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
the fun part about the RV park is they'd gone over and bought those freaking Malibu Grand Prix freaking go-karts, and we were racing around in there. People are watching. We made a freaking speed track out of there. Oh, that was pretty fun.
We thought we were going to have go-karts where we were going to build the water park. So we brought in all these go-karts. Pretty soon we had all these old retired guys flying
Ripping through.
And Ethel's under the awning. Slow down, Harold. And he flying
That's
around
a
in there.
fact.
Yeah, they were flying around in there. But
That was fun.
boy,
And
that
your
was,
friends are there to just
Oh,
drop
absolutely.
people in, right?
that was a wonderful
That was-
ride,
that was-
that business. And that led me to where I am now. And I love what I do now. So I just stuck with the same old thing. Love what you do, as you guys have. You know?
But why a water park? How did that come about? That seems crazy. That's like an amusement park out of nowhere. you
Yeah.
know?
I had a 1 and a 3-year-old, and it was like I grew up riding dirt bikes, building tree houses, learned to weld. I mean, all those little things as a kid. And I will tell you a big part of it, and I don't think they were fully out then, but everything was becoming dangerous. Can't ride a bike without a helmet. And we were all BMX guys. We were all surf guys. And the world was just changing for kids. And I had put on a lot of motocross races. I didn't really talk about that, but I had put on a lot of races. The fairgrounds, this was when Supercross was new, Jeremy McGrath, all those days, Kenny Roberts, all that stuff. And I just said, I'm not giving in to, how much is insurance? I wasn't going to give in. I wanted to still see the good old stuff that I grew up with stick around for kids.
And let kids have fun.
And let kids have fun.
That's it.
Well, that's the thing too. He's the largest
Employer.
young adult employer in the county, bar none.
I wrote it down. Somebody said, I don't know if it was you, gateway to career growth through Paso Roblans. When you started, at one point there was 250 employees. Now there's 300 and
Yeah,
something.
311 this year. Yeah.
And that's the bring people together, leave them better, because that's a transient business. Those kids are going to move on. It's also only seasonal, but that's an important thing. We take pride in that too. It's like people are here and we're going to give them everything we have. And if they're moving on, you want to give them that springboard, right?
Sure. And I just want to tell you one story that is touching to me this year. 19 years, this is my 19th year. I've hired every kid that applies out there up until this year. We're always looking for cooks, always looking for maintenance or, whatever. Okay, fine. Any parent has ever said to me before my kid applied, my answer is always, oh, good. I look forward to meeting them. Okay. I don't know if the world's changing, if politics is changing, whatever. This year, I had 50% more applications than I needed by April 15th. I had 450 applications. We shut down accepting. So a lot of those returnees that thought they were coming back, they didn't make it this year.
No.
And so I'm super excited about, come on, parents, man, let's go. I have over 100 15-year-olds this year, first-time job.
That's awesome.
They don't know a time clock from a hairdryer, right? I mean,
Right.
you're
They
starting.
don't know a hairdryer.
But I tell them, I will fire you for 2 reasons. You steal from me, or if I see you on a cell phone. I am about trying to teach them the right way and let them have fun and let them grow. And I love our staff. We always are blessed, man.
There's no secret. Brett's one of my best friends in life. Ever will be, and when I die, he will be. And the thing that he's real modest about this, but what he doesn't tell you is what he does when he hires special needs people. And he hires special needs people, and he puts them in a position to succeed. And it could be their first job ever, and never away from home. And he saved. He doesn't know, and I don't know how many lives after COVID where these kids were lost, and parents are calling suicide hotline on them, and he got them back to work, and the parents are thanking him. Thank you for giving my child back to me. and he's modest. He doesn't talk about. He tells me, and probably thought I'd never tell, but I'm pretty mouthy on this stuff. But this is the kind of guy. That's why he's Roblan of the Year, and he should be.
Absolutely.
And this is remarkable what he does.
Well, then also, there's women out there that need that sunscreen put on. So, I got to get over there and rub that on them now. I've had a couple buddies say, hey,
Hold on, this is a full service business.
yeah, he goes through a lot of sunscreen.
All right.
So I've had a few buddies say, hey, I want that sunscreen, position. And I'm like, perfect. I need help. You'll take all the men.
Yeah,
and I'll take all the females.
ladies, yeah.
Well, and
Fair
then,
enough.
and then my youngest son, Evan, he unlike me, he thinks he's special. He thinks he's pretty special. And he might be, I don't know, but he thinks he's pretty special. He thinks he might be. Man, so Brett hired his first year opening. Brett hires him as security. And so he calls him Cheeks. So he was always
There's got to be a story behind that one.
He was always up in the parking lot with his sleeves rolled off, flexing for the girls.
Yeah. Yeah. I look up, he and his 4 buddies are doing security like this. What the frick, dude?
Said he got stepped on by a horse.
Cheeks.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, you're no slouch either.
Well,
buddy,
here's a Montero story about my son. So Leonard Skinner had a concert out at Poso, the Poso Saloon, right? And my son Evan went out there, and like I said, he thinks he's pretty special. And he was a senior in high school, and this girl in this leather bikini comes up to him and goes, "Who wants to put sunscreen on me?" And he goes, "I will." So he's putting sunscreen on him, and
On her.
because all of his buddies.
Freudian slip.
Yeah, exactly. All of his buddies, they're scared. Like I said, Evan, and so about that time, her boyfriend comes up. He goes, "What are you doing?" And he's just rubbing sunscreen on her back. He goes, "I'm putting sunscreen on." Well, that's my girlfriend. He goes, "I didn't know." Right? And so he goes, it was starting to get a little dicey. About that time, Chris Montero, Mitch Montero, and Matt Montero walk up. And so
Got
they go,
undicey?
Hey, Evan, what's going on, buddy? They're playing, and so the guy and her girlfriend just kind of slinked away, So it was, I go, how would have gone? He goes, I would have probably got whooped. I would have got my licks in. He goes, but once Chris and Junior came up, I was pretty confident I was going to get out of the unscathed. I go, lucky for you. So
human pit bulls showed up. You
yeah,
don't want to.
no.
Those boys will take a bite out of you.
Exactly. So.
Yeah. Well, you're no slouch. Hold on. You tried to shine me on when I tried to move back to you. As far as, we do this a lot too. And we've worked on both sides. We worked in education before and now in this business. And people see it and they see it as glamorous, but you're still doing the work. While it's fun, you're still doing the work. And for someone like you could have easily went back and worked with the Gomers, and you could have just worked your job at Waste Management and went home and made your living and do that. But
Put the bungee straps on.
But instead,
whack!
but instead, you commit yourself to the community. That final phase of life is, you're trying to prove yourself to people. But then the bigger thing is, at some point, you learn who you are and you feel comfortable, and then you commit yourself to your community and put other people ahead of you. And as you talked about this guy, that goes right back at you, Mark, for all the groups and communities and things.
Pioneer Day.
Yeah, what made you want to give back? What spurred that in
Well,
you, I guess?
growing up, these people like Buck Butterfield and Jimmy Clausen, Manfred Vanderlip, they were just relentless on giving their time. Whether it be in Rotary, whether it be in the Chamber of Commerce, and all these groups, right? Bearcat boosters. And so if that's one thing that I could give back, I was on the Bearcat Booster Board for probably 16 years. And of those 16 years, 3 of them were my kids. So I was there without even any siblings. But that's what they did for us, Rotary. He brought me into Rotary. They sugarcoated it, said, "Is this going to be?" Then he comes in, gets me in, and he gets kicked out. So now I've been in Rotary for about 25 years.
That's a Frank Panion move.
Well played, Brett.
Hey, we call that getting Tom Sawyered around here. Frank will pretend like he can't do something. He's like, "Do you think you could do it?"
I love that trick.
Yeah. Because Brett, this is great. He goes, "You only get fined like $2 a thing. $2. I'm the most fined guy in Rotary."
Well, it's kind of like this.
Yeah. And so, but these people were big parts of our lives growing up. Talk about Barney Schwartz Park. We were growing up when Barney Schwartz was the mayor of Paso Roblans. That's what, we went to school. Our principal in 8th grade was Virginia Peterson. Now there's a school named after her, and these are the people we grew up with, all these schools. And so, and
The Stinchfields.
The Stinchfields.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so all these people growing up did so much for all of us. Like Brett said, all these police officers, Keith Tarwater, Bud Requa, Vern Matheson, they all knew our parents. So we couldn't run and hide. So hopefully we were quiet enough to go someplace and not get caught, because they knew our parents, so they would just show up at our house and and we'd be in trouble. But it was so fun growing up. We played Little League together, we played Babe Ruth together, he raced, I played football, basketball, and baseball. Dewey and Derek Stroud at the high school, their dad was my baseball coach, so stuff like that. And Bill Stroud was the baseball coach and the metal shop teacher. So, all these people back then, you didn't know a teacher's religion. You didn't know their political affiliation. You didn't know any of that stuff. You just knew they were a teacher. And they all lived in Paso Robles. They didn't live in Santa Barbara, San Luis. They all lived here. Yeah. So they knew you. So to give back for me was easy, because for what the people did for us, I wanted to give back to them. So that's why I did do the things I do. The Paso Robles Rotary Old Timers is probably my favorite event in Rotary. I took that over for Johnny Palla 20 years ago, and he owned Palla Equipment. And like I said, I get him to come bartend for me once in a while. So in the old days, well, still, people get so liquored up they can't make it home. So,
but we give him right.
He was one of them. Palla.
Oh yeah.
So describe the old timers, because that is special to Paso. It's very unique.
Well, like Kevin was talking about, Pioneer Day was about the farmers and ranchers coming to town and giving their appreciation back to the community for what all the farming. Back in the old days when Brett and I were growing up, it was sugar beets, almonds, and hay and alfalfa and cattle. That was. There was Pizzetti and Ducey's had a little winery in Templeton. That was the wineries. There was no other wineries here, but it was mostly, like I said, farming, ranching was the hay and cattle, and then sugar beets. Borky's had a big. You see train cars all the time with sugar beets. Where Cuesta College is, across the street, that was all those homes. That was all sugar beet fields. The Borky project, and so that's what that was. And so,
Pioneer Day, you've been the announcer for that.
Vince Vanderlip and I and his brother-in-law Rob, we've done it. And then last year I did it with Dana Stroud, Dewey and Derek Stroud's sister. And so, but the old timers, you have to be here in the area 50 years or more to be invited, unless you know me, because Vince and I are in charge.
I'm 40 years away.
Well, I can get you guys in.
87, I'm in.
I can get you. I used to get Leslie Blythe, our friend, her husband, Hugh Pitts, in all the time. I'm not you're my guest. And
so you throw a party for the old timers.
Yeah, and when I first took it over, Johnny was getting tired, so he invited about 200. Now we're up to Vince and I. We probably send out 600 to 700 invitations to people that are eligible to come, and they come from Arizona, Nevada, Fresno, all over.
He has brought it back to life.
Wow,
this guy.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That's
he has
awesome.
brought it back to life.
And we Joe Onoveris at Joe's place. We get all the food from him. We used to get from Larry Eastwood of Vic's, but he retired, so we get all the meat and all the fixings, beans and everything. And then we.
You know where Joe's is? You find that okay?
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with that.
You have to put it in your phone thing.
We've referenced this now twice. Go ahead, set the scene, Brett, since you called it out. What does Mark have to do with Joe's? What can you find at a Joe's place in Paso Robles?
He has the same thing every time, a turkey Ortega melt or something.
Yeah, Joe stole that from me from the Caribbean. Oh, goddamn traitor. I was on my menu over there. Joe comes into town.
It only took us 2 years to figure out how to do it right, though.
Hey, mimicking is flattery, right?
Exactly. Stealing is flattery.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
So just like if you don't know, this guy, he's at Joe's. How many days a week are you at Joe's?
Only 5.
Oh, that's it. 5 days a week.
He's only open 5 days a week.
How do you choose?
I sleep in on Saturdays.
How do you
and
choose?
I go to Mass on Sunday.
How do you choose between the 1-9er and the old?
We
Joe's
go to a
place?
1-9er because there's less people there. So.
Always at 1-9er now.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
there
So
you go.
me and
All right.
one time Gary Bang used to own Gary Bang Harley Davidson. He's one of the regulars. We go into Joe's place on 3rd Street, and Joe wasn't there, but it was packed. And one of the waitresses she goes, "There's a list over there to sign, and you two aren't on it." So we just left. It went to 1-9er.
And so in small towns, the same people gather every day, and they fix all the problems in the town every single day.
Throw Steve Hovey in the mix.
Yeah.
City council, it doesn't matter. They can fix it all.
Oh no,
right?
we've been out there, and John Prashant and Steve
Yeah.
Gregory
Oh,
or,
yeah.
or Hammond, they'll come over and go, "Hey, what do we need to do with this at the city, or what do we do in the county?" Let us think on that, guys.
Yeah. We'll have a couple more green eggs and ham, and we'll get back to
Like
you.
a black coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, the possibilities portion is that unbelievable. What's next? What's going on with you guys? What's in the future? What are you looking forward to? So, what do you got? What's new?
Well,
What's coming up?
my grandchildren, my oldest son, he's a musician, great musician, sound mixer by trade, by education. He's good friends with Kenny Lee Lewis, who's in the Steve Miller Band. So he does this kind of a side job. But him and his wife live here in Paso now. But my youngest son, he was an ag kid all of his life. So was Nolan, but not as much as Evan. Evan was a livestock judge and went to school on that and met his wife in the valley, and they live in Turlock. Well, his son, my grandson Aiden, this is his first year showing a hog at the Stanislaus County Fair. So our life is basically around Aiden and our granddaughter Olivia, who's going to have a dance performance in a week or two. And so we're going to go up and we're going to spend more time with the grandkids, and because the like Brett said, the time you lose is time you'll never replace. And so we're going to spend as much time as we can with them. So.
And this is important. We preach this. We try do our best here to be that next group of people, because you guys can't do it forever. Somebody has to come into this town. We say Paso, you don't choose Paso. Paso chooses you. They decide whether you're going to be successful, whether they're going to accept you. And
we noticed that the Paso Roblans that have been here a while noticed that, and we appreciate you guys being in the chamber gala and participating and stuff. It doesn't go unnoticed. It really doesn't. Now, some of the people that you have befriended, maybe you need to, do a little bit more research and maybe think about this.
Damn Justin Brush. He's a
Yeah.
Is that, I thought that was a Beneso. I was thinking about Beneso. We haven't even talked about it.
Well, no, that's
Gallagher?
that's a whole different kettle of fish there. You just
But there's a time when you give, you've got to, at some point in your life, you turn back to your stuff that you're doing. And then there has to be that next generation of people that are coming up, whether it's Justin Brush and Robbie and those guys, they're taking on those things because they die. Otherwise, those great things don't exist.
Our Pioneer Day Committee is going through that right now, where the older people have, unfortunately, we've lost Tom Flynn, we've lost Harry Ovid, Maggie Vandegon, Norma, and a couple others.
I'm just glad you called him Harry Ovitt instead of what you usually call him.
Imagination.
Anyways,
Harry Over. That's what I always called him.
But anyway, we've got Robbie Beneso, and we got Andy Brown, we got Emily and Justin Brush, we have Jill and Jill Smith and her husband Jeff, who will be taking my place. And these are wonderful Paso Roblans that have been here, got a history, and they want to do it. They want to keep the tradition alive, and we want them to do it. Because, like you said, if it doesn't happen, it just goes away, and we don't want it to go away.
No, not at all. And you guys have done a great job of setting it. Well, people were before you, and you guys have done a great job of doing that. And however we can help to keep it going. And, what's next for you? You have crazy things going on. We love it because we're crazy here too. Like, we don't stop thinking. Possibilities, you live the possibilities. People finds possibilities. You are the possibilities. What's next for you? You're improving the water park, doing some things. What do you want to tell? I know he only has certain things he'll reveal.
Well, I'm going to give you my cheese ball line of the night. But at a certain point in time, I realized I get way more out of the giving than the getting. I don't need a bigger, nicer house. I've never been a new vehicle guy, right? But I get the joy out of. We just had, I think you guys and Pioneer Day ultimately went to Firestone, and Firestone is really somebody to give a kudos to bring back Pioneer Day, right, Mark? And the museum, right? So we do our little deal of we treat all the brewers out there to a day when they come to town and let them go on the slide. We pour them beers and trying to make that festival better. You know, Heritage Foundation is one I love. I believe in it. All the big new barns, the new bathrooms, the big ass fans, the air coolers I showed animals as a kid in FFA. So that's why I love the Heritage Foundation.
The Mid-State Fair booths.
You find those ones
He
you
dated
love.
a few of them too.
I what?
Dated a few of them animals too.
I thought you meant the Heritage ladies.
But man, there's little things to get involved in every day, and it's rewarding. I go back to I was in both the Main Street Committee and on the Chamber Board, and I realized I wasn't worth a shit at that. I'm not a table paper guy. I'd rather what are you trying to get to and round up some friends or whatever and be a builder or be a shoveler or be a doer, right? So I had to find my path, right? So it's funny how you bring up the Smiths and them out at the water park. They've been so involved in so many fundraisers out there. They have giving in their blood, right? I've seen them in a million other different things. It's all our same group that is just still pulling for the city of Paso. Now, I want to grow in kids. That's what I want to do. We have 28 acres across from the water park. And an RV park is part of that. But I want to do the most kid-friendly, kid activity-driven RV park I've ever seen.
Can we still rip golf cart or go-karts out there?
You're not old enough yet. No, but I already bought a tram to go behind the tractor. It's from an old pumpkin farm. But, that would be my joy is you come to town here, you want to go wine tasting for the day. There's a place that will take care of your kids, and it will not be cell phones, and it will not be shove you in front of a TV. It'll be, we're going to be down in the river getting dirty, or we're going to be hiking over to Barney Schwartz and fishing in the pond, or whatever in the heck it is. I want to stick with what I'm in, right? And that's the kids, and then give where I can in the city, right? My idea to you with the river, I mean, you'd be a guy I would do that with. This would be a guy I would do that with, right? And I think I could tell you the Gallaghers, the Brushes, every one of us could go down there in a week and make that something cool, right? So, that's the cool part about where we are.
Frank and I have talked about it. You have partners, you have people, they always say don't go into business with your friends, but that's not true. I think you go into business with great people, and 10% of something amazing, because we're just going to give back with it anyways, is much better than 100% of something that
I just went 35 years with my two partners.
Yeah.
Right now,
and his two partners, well, one just like him, but the other is just more different than anybody you'd ever want. Jay Walsh he's just one of those
free spirit.
No, the opposite. Just straight edge, worry. He does everything until it gets red tagged. Now Jay, he was Jay was like he was the original Jay of JJ Spurs restaurant. And he knew that's how I met him. He was a bartender down there, but he was just a straight shooter. Wanted to do just kind of hyperactive, but good man, good man. Both of his partners are good men. And
great people.
I can't even tell you how many businesses I did with Jay. Yeah, we had a wonderful time the whole time. We just take care of each other.
He Brett told me one time that 35 years he's worked with Jay. He's never had one bad day. Not one bad day.
Wow, never did.
Yeah, me? Well, he doesn't even like me. So.
Frank, we have 25 more years. It's going great.
Get him another beer.
Now, when Peel was out there having nude night at the water park,
Every one night.
I'm trying to be a good friend and say, I'll try and come to this one, John, but when I saw the pictures and it was, 7 hairy asses and 3 200-pounders, I'm not freaking going.
Wait, what night is this? Late nights at the water park. That needs to be a whole nother. That needs to be a whole
That's a band
nother
name.
thing. Yeah, it is Nude Night.
We need to do a Calicosa night at the water. We should just do
Absolutely.
it. Invite
Let's
everybody
do
out
it.
and go on the slides.
Done.
That'd be fun,
All right, we can't let you out of here without talking mindset. That's my favorite thing. So I'm starting this is what type of mindset does it take to be successful? Obviously in any way, but if you were giving people advice, we got you guys here. We can't let you out of here. What would you tell to somebody who's trying to start their own thing or work or be the best at their family? What would you tell them?
The thing is nothing comes easy. I mean, you guys know nothing comes easy. If it's something that you need to have resources, surround yourself around people that know more than you. Joe Rogan said that he never wants anybody that he interviews in his podcast that are smarter than him because he won't learn anything. Me, if I don't know the answer, I've been around the business long enough that I know somebody that does. And don't be so vain that you can't call somebody to see what the right answer is. So, man, if it's he's calling, that's different. But if it's somebody else, and he's fearless, I'm not as fearless as he is, obviously.
Yeah.
But to put yourself, don't put yourself in a box yourself, paint yourself in a corner where you have to lie to do something. Just do your research, do your studies, and hopefully everything will work itself out. So it will. So and being around here all my life, it's like the cops coming to your house because they know your parents. We know a lot of people, and if we do something stupid, we don't want to be known as the person that does something stupid. Always do the right thing.
We don't?
Yeah.
Always do the right thing when nobody's looking.
And if you
This is
do,
my whole business
own
model.
up to it, right?
Well, I got more stories about pre-Pioneer Day dance down in San
Well, we
Luis.
got to come back again. These two have been on fire. Brett, what do you got for us? What do you think? What advice would you give somebody out there just kicking ass, getting after it, losing, winning, everything in between?
I think we all are who we are, right? I probably would say I believe that you and you are two very different people. and I think you are who you are. So where I go with that is I think about Pat's my old assistant, right? And I can think of another family. They grew up with their parents telling them, get on with a big company, get the benefits, get the retirement. Work 7.5 hours a day, 40 hours a week, and you get 2.2. But by 45, you'll be retired. And I have friends who've worked in the prisons, and they're 20 years younger than me and already with this gnarly retirement. But they hated what they did the whole way. But I think we are who we are, right? So if you have that entrepreneur blood in you, which I always felt my family did, and obviously you two do, then that's what you do. I feel like Mark has been a wonderful fit for Dale. Dale ought to be thanking Mark as much as Mark, thanks
Absolutely.
Dale, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're all individual, right? So what's the dream? I would tell you have fun. I think I could be fantastic working at Yosemite for Parks and Rec, but my creative bones I would have never got to expand those, right? So I just still go back to do what you love. Do what you love. I think I look at Paso Roblans after being in Orange County. There's everything down there, right? There's everything there. My friends, I'm not moving up there. I can't make near what I'm making. I'm going, yeah, but you're paying double to live down here. You're making double. You're in this rat race driving to work, and you're just living this crazy pace, and you live in a condo next to somebody who you've been there 4 years and you haven't even met yet. And I look back, I lived that life, and now I'm up here where, God, I mean, everybody's a friend,
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I think we're all made of what we are, but for me, do what you love. Do what you love. I love what I do, and my two buddies just got bought out. I wasn't ready for that. I loved what I did, so I'm with the new guys, and I'm having a blast with them now too.
And you hit on something important because you and I have similar personalities where we get a lot of credit because we're out in front of people, but almost more important, are the guys who are Frank's up at 4:30 and 4 in the morning. He's here at
100%,
5.
I get that.
He's making beer, and we can have fun and talk to all the people and do all those things. If Martha isn't making sure that all those bills are paid and that we have the correct things in place and that we have beers in the taps. And, you know, if Mark's not there making sure that they're following the compliance measures that they need to follow, and nobody's better than anyone else. Sure, certain people are in the front, but that doesn't mean they're more important, right? They're actually less important. I always feel like my job or your job, it doesn't exist if the people who are, you know, the task completers who love that, who love getting things done, aren't making sure that all our shit is done. You know?
Hey, I've had more businesses that have failed than have made money.
Right.
Yeah.
But the big old lesson I've learned is know what you don't know.
And everybody's got to find their niche.
By
right?
accident, I have finally ended up in a business like with Jay and John. I knew Jay was very good in what he did. Analytics, chemicals, water safety, swimming, credit card rates, insurance. He took all that shit. I don't want to know anything about it. John, my other partner, he could build anything. He knew electrical. He knew plumbing. He could fix anything, freaking loose handrail to you name it, right? And then I took who I was. I knew Paso entitlements, people, hiring, food, bev, right?
Yeah.
So I know I'm horrible at paperwork. I know I don't want to do that. I know now what I'm not good at. So if you can know what you don't know, you two are in the right spot here, right? And so is Martha.
Yeah.
So, right, that's the
100%.
success of the team, right? And I'm not sure. I
I know you passed that econ test pretty easy in Cal Poly.
I knew the night before when I went out and partying instead of studying, I knew what I didn't know, so I had to come up with a plan to cheat. But
and
It
that's
worked
a
out.
fact.
That's a fact. All right. Anything we missed? Shoot, we had this is a great episode. Right here.
I loved it.
We'll see.
I learned a lot.
I want to say this. We got 2 seconds? Or?
Yeah, you got as much time
Oh.
as you want. Shoot.
You guys have been game changers for Paso, right? You became a true. I came down here on a backhoe and cleared out cement because Jeff's Bobcat wouldn't lift it. But I mean, you guys, I come to you now with new ideas, right? In a very short amount of time. I hope you guys get. Nobody's matching what you're putting into your place, into your thoughts. Every time I see what you're having, I think I came down here one night and there was crochet going on in here, and
Oh yeah.
I mean, you know, I can't even tell. I was the first one ever to have an event over here next door. Remember
Yeah.
my sister? But
Yep.
I
Brought
got
his
more
own bar.
just myself. All of the family events are ending up here because they know I like you right? So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and also you guys have been very generous to the Pioneer Day Committee during this hot summer months, letting us have our meetings here in the patina room.
Yeah.
And we really appreciate it. And so, and like I said, being involved in the chamber and getting involved, you know, it's a big thing. It's a big, because some people don't. And you know, you guys, like, I agree with Brett 100%. I mean, one, finding a great place to be in Tozzi's, and you know, there's some historical value there. He was well known, and so people know, hey, the Tozzi's old place. Oh yeah, yeah. So that's a good thing. But you know, we appreciate the hard work you guys put in, and the gig it's like the fair when we're going through a rough stretch. It's not the people that come once in a while; it's the people that come all the time.
Yes, sir.
That's the thing.
Amen.
You know, if you don't get the locals to come back, you're not going to get enough business from the foreigners.
No,
that's the bottom line.
That's the only reason we're successful.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
hit it.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not even. Yeah.
So
Well,
it's fun.
it's funny you say that though. We love talking about entrepreneurs and things, and you know, just people in general. When you're doing that and you're giving so much, you don't feel like you're doing enough. You know, like, and you guys to say that's very interesting for us to hear it, because we're just kind of in it, like running in a good way. You're just like going. Let's do something else. Give so big it hurts. Like, keep giving. You know, because now you're in charge of it. You know, we worked in the school district. You had to ask 100 people if you could donate something or do your time. Here, it's only up to us. It's like, do we want to do it? Yeah, let's do it.
Boom.
You know, it takes our time and our investment and our people. Do you want to do it? Our team? Let's do it. Let's help people out.
well, and realize now, you guys, Brett and I talked about, you know, the Steinhauer Bakery, the J.C. Penney's, the Mercantiles. Now it's the Odyssey. It's
Right,
the Hatch. It's Cal Coast Beer.
Time travel.
You guys are basically now you're going to
Wow.
be the new generation of the businesses. Yeah, I grew up with Cal Coast Beer. I grew up with Cowgirl Cafe. That's going to be your guys' mantra.
That's a
from this on.
compliment.
Yeah.
You know, lastly on this topic, I got to tell you a fun little story. But I will tell you who told me his story that I've never forgotten, and that was Frank Blake at Blake's. Now, I don't know if you knew Frank. He's passed away,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Blake's has been there as long as I've been alive, right?
Yeah.
He sat in there one day and explained to me how he stayed alive through all the years. He had survived off railroad. He had to switch. He had to cater to oil fields. He had to cater to new construction. He had to cater to wineries. Here comes Home Depot. He had to regroup, and he went into service, perfect service. He added employees when he was getting crushed by Home Depot to be better. I loved his story, and he had been there forever down there, and you go in there still now. Nobody touches his service. You go in there, man, there's a guy ready to walk you back and hand you a
Oh,
meal.
yeah. They come out of the rafters like ninjas.
And here's
What do
a
you
little,
need?
Here's a little sidebar to that. Jake's Aunt Jill used to work there as the bookkeeper.
Is that right?
Yep.
Jake's Aunt
Jill
Jill.
Rockwell. Yep. Or Jill. Yep. Not Rockwell. Lusk. Jill Lusk.
Yep.
Yep.
And he survived through it.
Yes, he did.
You got to be
And-
gritty.
and when
I mean, he had reinvented. It sounded like every 5 to 10 years he had to reinvent. Look at beer right now. Look at drinking. Look at drinking. with youth.
Wineries are getting crushed.
They're getting crushed.
Beer's getting crushed.
And
If you're
when Frank started, he was actually a union plumbing business, and then he switched from union plumbing to a hardware store.
Wow.
Yeah.
His story was fantastic. To me, at a young age, that was a lot of years ago. He shared that with
Well,
me.
tell me, Frank's going pee right now.
I gotta
So I
step
need
out.
one more story, though.
yeah.
You said Stinchfields. So the history of this building, we don't know very well. We know it through Tozy. We found the Stinchfield sign. Do you know anyone who remembers it as a mattress factory?
Yes, I do very well. My father-in-law was very close with the Stinchfields.
No
And
kidding.
And Jerry, he's a great guy. Still, I mean,
Jerry Jones, he is a great guy.
He ran outlet equipment down here for
Yes, he
years.
did.
But he knows every bit about that whole Stinchfield family, right? But even who was it? Daryl Stinchfield,
Daryl,
who recently
Daryl, yeah,
passed. I
yep.
knew him very well. And
Daryl, Randy Stinchfield. So he was
We
what
gave
was
them
Randy's
the
sister
sign.
name? Kelly or something like that.
easy.
We did find that sign behind there. Stinchfields was behind the Tozy sign.
Yeah, you know
and
what?
we pulled it down.
You ought to put that up somewhere.
Well, we gave it to them. We gave
Oh.
it to the family, and they put it in their.
Okay.
They put it in their garage there. Yeah, they put it out in one of their garages. So
Oh God, if you had a picture though, or if you just put that up there in the years they were here, I mean, it's just a little journey. I think people would enjoy because their family wasn't like somebody who wasn't known. You know?
no,
Yeah.
they were well known. Well, Kelly Stainbrook is the one who came through. Who you worked with, Kelly, and
She didn't do any damn work out there. But,
she walked up, and we were trying to figure it out, and she goes, "That's the Stinchfields," right off the bat.
well, I don't know if you remember or not, but I said that to you one time early in the game. It was wedged in back over there, back where you make your beer. And
yeah,
I saw that Stinchfield
yeah,
sign in
yeah,
there.
you did. No,
Yeah.
you and Kelly the same.
Yeah.
It was like boom, you guys knew it.
That,
right
that
off the
you know,
bat.
even if you copied it, that would be a cool thing, right, on your wall.
Yeah.
At least
People
get a
would-
picture of it.
I did take a picture
Oh,
of
okay.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So what should I ask Montero when he comes on?
Oh boy.
Oh, jeez.
So that goddamn Montero. Yeah, So he's been horse faced to me as long as I've known him, right?
Okay.
I'm not sure he likes it.
I
but
don't know if
he's-
I'll call him that.
I think his mom was Mare and his sister was Filly. I mean, they all came
Yeah.
in afterwards. His
Okay.
brother was Pony and his dad was Stallion, and the whole gig, right? But
His dad, they like Kevin was saying, there was no Niblick Road. You took North River Road to a stop sign, and and to turn to South River Road to
Yeah.
a stop sign. You took a left. You went to the country club. There was nothing there.
Yeah.
And if you went further where Kennedy was, that's where the Monteros lived, and they
exactly where the Kennedy building is.
all-
It's where the Monteros grew up.
exactly
Oh, no
and
kidding.
all where Walmart is
Yeah.
clear down through Riverbank was all hay fields. And then past there was Sterling Diamond's place. And so Johnny Montero harvest hay all through there. That's all hay farm. That's all Chris's dad did was harvest hay.
Wow.
And and you talk about tough. He was tougher than any of the Montero kids.
No kidding.
Oh yeah.
Wait,
oh, yeah.
there's a tougher one than all
Oh
of
yeah.
them?
Johnny Montero was tougher than any of them. And Chris will admit it too. Chris won't deny it. Johnny Montero was a tough man.
Oh, well, we can't wait to have him on, and we appreciate
Well, that's-
you
that's
guys.
Well,
a
just
critical-
ask him. So We have a carpool. It's Elijah Holmes, Murray Surratt, Kevin Bradshaw. You don't even want to know all these idiots. But anyway, I told you about Horseface taking the miles off his car, right?
Your words, not mine.
Yeah.
True story. True story.
Oh, yeah. So, he was out road racing in the almond orchards and hit a branch and tore his linkage off. So he backed from North Paso all the way out South River Road and home and took 13 miles off his car.
Yeah.
But anyway.
In reverse.
Yeah. So finally he says one day, well, let's go down to Pirates Cove. Here's the same knuckleheads in there. Elijah Holmes had one of those combs that he would leave in his afro.
He was African American.
And he beat on Montero for going too fast in this freaking Malibu. But Montero was going as fast as he could to Pirates Cove. There's a lot more brush. This is a freaking nude beach.
Yeah.
He's flooring it, going straight at the beach in this Malibu. I am scared to death. Last minute, he'd flip a big U, and he was all proud of how many rocks and shit he was shooting down on the people in this goddamn car at Pirates Cove. Yeah.
There's not a lot of protection down there.
No, not a whole lot. No.
He is.
Well, we look forward to that one.
And
We're going to get them all.
I believe he got inducted to the Athletic Hall of Fame.
He did as a coach.
Yeah,
the California first, and then he's here in the Bearcat.
No, he put in his time. Yeah, he really did. The love for that, and Ty's doing well.
Yep.
Stanford, his grandson. So
that's great. All right, boys. Well, cheers. We got a gift for you. Hold on.
I'm going to say thank you. Like the stories I hear, and it's pretty important. For somebody not local to come all of a sudden hear these and just really want to be a part of this.
Thanks.
And we want to make sure your legacy carries on, and definitely something for Paso and 100% for kids. That's what we do here. So,
well, my son Evan, when he ever comes to town, him and his wife Brittany, they always come here. Yeah, they're
Awesome.
good friends with JR and Shiloh Reynolds and
Oh,
Isaiah
yeah.
Gomer, and this is their place. So
Good people.
Yeah, so they love coming here.
all right, want to keep doing it.
Well,
cheers,
I
boys.
don't have anybody who comes to town that I don't bring here.
That matters.
Appreciate you guys.
Matters.
Cheers.
Thank you
Cheers.
for having us.
Yeah, thanks for being good friends, and I've enjoyed the relationship for sure.
Best one yet, Jake. Best one
And
yet.
Jake,
right
real
now.
quick, in 20 years, is this Rich and is that me?
That hurts, guys.